So kind of keep with hip hop for a bit, kind of. So let's gonna take a trip overseas, man. So let's go to London, England, and we'll talk about the debut feature from producer, actor, writer, film director, and rapper, Rapman. That's his stage name actually. Called Blue Story.
Right.
This was a movie that was actually supposed to be released in Trinidad. I believe it was either March or April or something like that, right? But
This
because of
this one
COVID
was a while,
19,
right?
yeah, it did actually. So yeah, we were supposed to get that down here either March or April, but that didn't happen because you know why, right?
Right.
Also, too, it was released last year in England, November, and
Oh, see,
apparently,
oh, see. It come out. I know it came out before that. Okay, right.
yeah, right. And apparently there was some controversy with the film and, instantaneously, right? Because, a lot of people made a reference to, well, the classic John Singleton Hood film, Boys the Hood, right? This
Yeah.
idea that, oh, if you show it in theaters, what I mean, black youth are gonna watch that and then they're gonna be compelled to acts of violence and all that kind of stuff, right? So they were afraid of, the show promoting gang violence because yes, the movie is centered on gang warfare and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So, what I mean? They canceled screenings. There were a couple of acts of violence that happened, and well, I have to do research and find out if they were related to the film's release or not. Like, if they were related to the film's release or not, I'll have to find out. But yeah, you know what I mean? They canceled the screenings for it, and afterwards, well, they just kind of decided to put it out through VOD, right? So it actually
Right.
came out officially on VOD last week at the time of recording here. So I took the time to check it out because, I was hearing great things about it. There's a ridiculously high score on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and, I mean, the consensus, gives the idea that, yeah, it is a great film, right? But like I said before, the main comparison, the main show that's being compared with is Boys Hill, right? So I'll just use that to jump into the story. So it's centered on two friends, right? Marco and Timmy, right? Well, both of them are from different areas of London, right? It's Deptford and Peckham to be precise, right? So I don't know if this is true because apparently it is based off of, true events somewhat, right? So yes, the gang warfare is, well, real, I guess, right? So it's just centered these two friends. They're from different, sides, right? But they're not involved in in any gang warfare or anything like that, right? They go to high school. They've been friends from since primary school. They look out for each other, all that kind of stuff, right? But in the case of Marco now, his brother actually is part of this gang now, right? And well, it's kind of basically like Mark who just not wanted to be part of it. You know what I mean? He just want to, I mean? He just not about that life. You know what I mean? His brother's in it
Right.
because from years and all that kind of stuff, right? So what happens is that, well, Timmy is just trying to just live a normal life. Sorry, you know what I mean? Just be a normal teen. This is Gil that he has a crush on. And is normal stuff. You know what I mean? That high school kids go through and all that kind of stuff, right? But he's aware of what's going on in around him right now. You know what I mean? Just gang confrontations. You know what I mean? People getting shot or killed and all that kind of stuff. But he just tries to stay away from that. He has immigrant mother, by the way. I was trying to pick up on the accent. Like it sounded Jamaican, but it wasn't exactly Jamaican. But yeah, he is from. He is. Well, he was born in an immigrant family, and then also
Right.
too, what the show really addressed on, and it's kind of sad when you think about it. There are no father figures in the show. There are none.
Right.
Like it's really really sad. Kind of strange at the same time, but it just really makes you stop and think like, wow, but like if there was a father figure to these two guys' lives, you know what I mean? Things would have been totally different. But yeah, essentially it's just their moms really raising them, right? So what happens is that an old friend, an old primary school friend of Timmy shows back up, right? And then we learn later on that he is part of the rival gang to Marco's brother. So what happens is that one night Marco gets beat up by these guys, and he just kind of seeks revenge. And well, that incident just kind of throws off Marco now, and then it gets even worse now when a friend of his brother gets killed, right? So
Right.
they also focus on like Marco's brother's gang, right? And you're seeing all the internal stuff going on. You see where they hang out and all that kind of stuff. You see the rivalry between the two. They would just kind of roll up to each other's, hoods and whatnot and confront them and all that kind of stuff. So what happens is that, well, now Marco feels that Timmy doesn't have his, not looking out for him now, you know what I mean? Right after, because of the incident that happened to where he got beat up, right? And well, you know what I mean? They just kind of stop talking to each other, right? And then an unfortunate incident happens, and I'm gonna spoil what happens there. But then that just separates them entirely. So not only is Marco part of a gang now, but Timmy as well. You know what I mean? And he was basically like the Cuba Gooding Jr. of this story, right? You know, I mean, one person who just wants to stay untarnished by all this gang stuff, right? You know, what I mean, he wants to live the straight and narrow and all that kind of stuff. He wants to do good by his friends and his girlfriend. You know, what I mean, well, friend that be the girl that he was seeking turned girlfriend, right? But something bad happened, and now he's in that hood stuff now. So now basically he is out to get Marco, and that's where I leave it at. So it's just essentially these two guys who kind of get roped into this whole gang stuff, and now they kind of against each other, and that pretty much is what the story is about. So I'll just say right off the bat, though, I totally enjoyed this movie, but I did not expect to enjoy this as much as I did. I know in my head though, and this is kind of like I know, like I kind of know this is what the criticism of movies like these get, where it's like, oh, you're enjoying it, but are you enjoying the fact that it's about black men, you know what I mean, with no father figures involved in gangs and they're doing acts of violence and they want to shoot each other and kill each other and all that kind of stuff now? Like in my head, I was telling myself, okay, this is the criticism this movie is gonna get, but at the same time, this has been the criticism of many films based on the hood or when you get to like look at Boys in the Hood for example,
Right.
like
But
or
it's not
or
it's
or
not like
Menace to
lazy
Society.
gangster shit, right?
Sorry.
It's not like lazy hood bullshit, right? It's not like
No, 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 no,
it's-
no. That's the beauty of it. That's why I really enjoyed it for. It doesn't
exactly.
give you like this basic story, like, oh well, you're in a gang, shoot each other, boom, 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 that's the end. You know what I mean? These characters are well developed, you know what I mean? They have consciousness for one thing, you know what I mean? It's not like they're gonna do an act of violence just because, you know what I mean? And what I mean, the show spent a lot of time going in depth into not everyone who's involved in the gangs, of course, but the major players and why they do what they do, why they put on a tough demeanor, you know what I mean? Why they act the way they do. So, you know what I mean? At first, some person, you know what I mean, might just kind of look at this like, oh, you're glorifying this. And like I said before, that's the kind of argument you'll make, people will make of shows of the similar nature. Like, case in point, Minister Society, for example, that's a perfect example where
Right.
the violence was just so in your face now. And it is rather shocking, right? Well, we reviewed it with our friend Doughboy. You know, we could I'll put the link to that review
Right.
in this review here. And I touched on the controversy that movie sparked because of that, right? Like, oh, people are gonna, you know, what I mean, you're glorifying this or you're promoting this, but no, it's kind of showing you the reality of things, and it's easy for us to point fingers and say you're glorifying this, you're glorifying that. But here's a counter argument to that. You've never been there. You've never gone through what these characters went through. You don't even live in that area anyway. So me as an outsider watching this movie here, I was actually surprised at this because it's one of those things that you kind of know exists, mainly because of the immigrants in up there, you know what I mean, and not saying it just because they have a lot of black people in London, that's why they have a lot of violence there. But at the same time, because of the economic conditions there, or at least in certain areas in London, that a lot of movies actually based in that area don't touch on. I can
Right.
understand why these things, why stuff like this exists, right? So I was actually like amazed that the show was so brave enough to just zero in on that. You know what I mean? Move away from the London that we've seen so much in many movies, especially Hollywood movies, and show the sides, just show the areas that you'd never see before. And that's the
Yeah,
same
exactly.
thing here with Menace Society and Boise. You know what I mean? They show Watson, Compton, and South Central, the areas that you never saw before in LA or California. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
I give credit where credit's due.
Yeah,
That's what this movie did.
that's why the show you with your boy Attack the Block was so good.
Yes. Well, another great film that in retrospect, I should have brought up as as best of the decade actually. Cause yeah, you know what I mean. Just zeroed in on that area. And speaking of Attack the Block, too, the rawness of the characters, especially the way how they talk too, it's very slang oriented. You know what I mean? And I just love. It's just something about British slang. Like every time I hear it, especially like with British hip hop. Which, by the way, if you haven't been on to British hip hop, you need to. Guys like Stormzy, you know me, Wiley. A lot of people start listening to Wiley because of that Bossy song. You know what I mean? But even before then,
Yeah.
Wiley was killing it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, British hip hop is the shit though. And yes, and the film also has grime music, right? Which is hip hop, but it just has this darker electronic musical mix into it, right? So that's what Wiley is one of the Godfathers, and yeah, that's the name of his two albums, Godfather and Godfather 2. Yeah, you say he's the Godfather of that, right? And then also because we're touching on immigrants, right? So a lot of Caribbean immigrants in the show here too. They have some dancehall in it, some
Right.
decent dancehall in it too. I was like, all right, cool. I digging that. I love how what I mean, some of the characters were bringing up Jamaican slang too. You know what I mean? Like stuff that we've heard in dancehall songs over the year, they're bringing it up too. So I do love how raw and authentic, you know what I mean, the dialogue is in the show. Even right now to how they swear, how they cuss each other as well too. I love the fact that, just like a show that we talked about years back, Train Spotting, well, when we touched on the
Right.
sequel, it's not like dumbing things down and telling you, well, it's for Hollywood, so we have to have characters talk pure English for them to understand. It's like, no, you're in a section of London. These are how characters talk. Deal with it. If you don't like it, put on subs, right? And that's what I did actually while watching this. That's not to say, however, that it's incomprehensible. You won't understand what characters see, right? But yeah, that's as far as I could say about dialogue. Also, I thought that just the pace of it was very quick, but at the same time, it managed to tell a story in a brisk pace. I should say that, right? So it doesn't move at an absolute speed here, even though the movie clocks in at like 90, 91 minutes, right? But it gives it just enough for you to understand, okay, Marco and Timmy, for example, you understand the friendship they had. You don't have to stop to show you, oh, way back in whenever, when you were young, when you were back in primary school. You get the sense that they were friends from way back. They're friends themselves in school. You know what I mean? You get the relationship between each other. Even right down to, being him liking the girl and the relationship they have afterwards as they become an item. It's genuine, right? It really feels lived in and all that kind of stuff. Even right down to the gang members themselves, you know what I mean? The moments of them together, you get the sense that, yeah, you know what I mean? There's a brotherhood going on. It's not like they're just doing acts of violence just because. It's being like a retaliation thing, right? And then, well, one thing that the show touches on, and it's quite ironic too, there's never really a real reason why they fight. It's just, oh, it's just a matter you in the same block as I am, or you know what I mean, you beat my friend up and all that kind of stuff, right? So it just shows how pointless this whole gang shit is to begin with, right? Um, Also, as far as well, the violent content is. I've seen worse films, you know what I mean, in this particular nature. Like, still to
Yeah.
this day, City of God is like probably one of the most violent, hood
Probably the
movies I've
worst. Yeah.
seen. Just merely because of how shocking it was, but it was appropriately shocking. Eh? Not seeing that, oh well, they push, they went too far and all that. It was done in such a way to really emphasize. 'Cause in that case, it was about, well, kids just getting into this gang stuff to begin with, right? So just seeing that was quite shocking and still is shocking in my opinion. But in this case, I'm not seeing that it's tame or it's toned down, right? It's violent, yes, but it's never gratuitous. It's never done in such a way that, oh, it's glorifying, the subject matter itself, right? But I still know that people may watch this and be like, no, you're wrong. And I mean, this is what it is. But sorry, that's the story that Rapman wanted to tell himself, right? Speaking of Rapman, I like the fact that yes, he wrote the film, directed all that kind of stuff. And apparently, I just read it off of Wikipedia. He actually had a YouTube series of the same name, right? That's based on the stuff in this film, which, like I said before, is actually based
Right.
on true events, right? But what he does do was quite interesting. This is kind of making his own stamp in the film, giving us his own flair. Now. He raps in the film. Like he plays the
Okay.
unofficial narrator. Yeah, he
Okay.
so essentially he's like the Greek chorus guy in the film. So you wouldn't
Okay.
see like he's not a character in the story. He's just the
Right. He's
narrator,
not
right?
present,
So
but no, so he not in the movie, but he just there for. Okay.
yeah. Right. So what he does, right? So he would just like a beat will play and a really dope beat by the way. By the way, the beats that he rhyme on pretty dope, right? He will rap about the stuff that happened, and then if they show passage of time, like when Timmy, for example, ends up becoming a gang member himself. So you talk about, well, in the space of time, this is what happened. This guy went to jail. This person still feeling bad because of what happened, all that kind of stuff. And I know for some people that might be a tune off, like, okay, why do we have to have this guy explain everything that we've seen before? But to me, what makes it work is if you look at what he's seeing as just songs, like songs in a soundtrack, like like let's just say he was just rapping a particular song, like a Brenda's Got a Baby, for example. So he's
Right.
rapping story, but we haven't seen the film itself. So it's that same approach that he's doing. So he's just kind of rapping like if it's just a track of an album, right, that we're listening to. That's how he does it. But he's telling a story that we're seeing in the process, right? But still, like I say, once again, some people might be like, "Oh gosh, why, blah?" You take it away from the story, but I think it works though. I think it gives it its own stamp, its own, originality, I should say. Acting wise, I thought was stellar throughout. I don't know anybody in the show per se. Haven't seen them
Right.
in any other film or TV show or whatnot, but I thought that everybody came and did their thing. Like I say, well, the characters felt real. They really feel lived in and authentic, right? They could imagine these characters. Like you imagine yourself being in their world, and yeah, these are how the characters will move or act and talk like that, right? Um, and while the show does follow certain beats, right? Certain tropes that you've seen in, hood movies of the past, well, American hood movies of the past. They make some tweaks to them, not just we're in England, so we're just gonna do things the English way, or it's gonna be more highbrow than the stuff. It's very raw, it's very real, right? But certain things do happen that come out of nowhere, and it just kind of adds to the, well, spoiler alert, tragic nature of the story, right? Especially the climax of this. I thought that the climax was really, really, really tragic and quite emotional. It's like an outcome that you won't see coming, but it's dramatic without being overly dramatic, but it fits in terms of the story and the conflict that's going on. But it's really sad, right? And then the outcome, well, I should say the end of the film, whilst a tad bit rushed because they kind of show, oh well, this is what happened years later, blah 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 blah.
Right.
I thought it was worth it. It was worth it, right? Even though it's a tad bit rushed. And then, well, stick around for the, we don't get up actually when the credits start rolling, because it's actually like a little, we post credit scene that happens. And all I'll say is, without spoiling it, it's similar to City of God, where you just see the cycle of this whole gang stuff, just happening again. That's all I'll say.
Right.
And it's just really unfortunate with the person involved, right? Because of the bright future he could have had. That's all I will say without spoiling it, right? So yeah, I mean, I didn't really know much about what it was about. So I kind of just went in. I just heard stuff about it, but when I went in, I was just thoroughly enjoying everything. It was vibrant. It was well directed, I should say. This is a very, very, very well directed film. So yeah, man. I mean,
Nice.
Rapman just knocked it out the park. Let's speak of Rapman himself. I didn't even know that he wrote and directed the film too, because you saw the credits at the very end. It's like, what? Like, you do this shit? What? Okay. So very, very impressive job here from this guy. I want to see what he does next. Actually, should look up and see, like, check out his discography too, man. Because yeah, this is a damn impressive debut from this guy, man. I must say, probably one of the best debuts I've seen in quite some time, man. Right? It tells a story. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's just well told, well written, well directed, well everything in my opinion. So, will I say it's the one of the best? Will I say it's like the best hood movie ever? No, no. What I mean? Stuff like City of God, Menace Society, they're still great. I mean? They still regard as classics. But I have a feeling that this one here, what I mean, with given, what I mean, with more viewings, I should say if more people do check it out, yeah, I could see this being like a hood classic, man. You know what I mean? Just to see way how Attack the Block. You know what I mean? People will look at that now as one of the best sci-fi films of the 2010s, and I wholeheartedly agree. You know what I mean? Even though that movie came out like what 10 years ago, right? So yeah, I
Yeah.
see this film Blue Story having longevity. I really can't praise this film more enough. I really can't wait to see what Rapman does next. And yeah, I mean, I go in high with this one. I have to give this a strong 4 out of 5, man. I really enjoy this film for what it is. It told a
Nice.
story. The Nova States welcome. It's enjoyable, both in a visceral and emotional manner. I mean, you'll laugh. You'll probably shed a tear or two. I especially laughed to it some moments too, especially with the accents. There's one character in particular. His name is Killy, and yeah, Killy, right? He to me is like the stand-up character in that whole show just because of how he just have a way of talking, Jared. This his accent was just hilarious in my opinion, even though he was on that gangbang and shit, right? But yeah, that's who he was. But he was a
Right.
highlight in that show, right? But yeah, if if films of this nature aren't your cup of tea, then yeah, I highly recommend not watching it. But I really would recommend that you give it a try, give it a look. Don't go in thinking that this show is gonna glorify gang violence because of the premise and all that kind of stuff, right? It really shines a light on something that, like in my case, I didn't even know was a real thing. You know what I mean? Or I didn't know it was that extreme. You know what I mean? Up there.
Right.
And this, just like with the great hood films of the past, it's not there to just say, oh, this is how it is. You know what I mean? It kind of warrants discussion. It's not just, oh, we're just gonna show this stuff just because it's fun and all that. No, it's meant to tell a message. And I thought that this film, like the greats, did this very well. So yeah, strong 4 out of 5. I highly recommend you check out Blue Story.